Hello everyone, my name is Julio Diarte, and in this tutorial I'm going to show you how to draw a basic plan oblique drawing. I'll use the floor plan and section of the building that I showed you last week. And the first step is to place the floor plan of the building. That's not the floor plan, this is a floor plan. And rotate it 45 degrees. So once you place the floor plan on the drawing board and rotate it 45 degrees, the second step is to place the section of the building. We are not going to rotate the section of the building, but we are going to intersect the section of the building with the corner of the floor plan for this case, and I'm going to show you why later. So once you did this, the next step is to start tracing. You put a new paper, you put a new tracing paper on top of the floor plan and section, and we'll start tracing the guidelines of the oblique drawing. So how are we going to do this? So I will start tracing the guidelines of the first floor. Okay. The second step will be tracing the guidelines for the basement. So let's do that. First, I'm going to set my ruler at 45 degrees. I'll use a very thin drawing pencil because these are just guidelines. So the first line will be this one here. Then I'm gonna start tracing 90 degrees guidelines. So this is the corner of the building. This is the window. So what I'm looking here is the intersection of that line with the element. In this case, it's a window, the door, the corner of that column, the door again, as you can see, I made a small mistake here, so my line is not really following the floor plan. But for the purpose of this tutorial, that's good enough. Then I'm gonna trace parallel lines to the floor of the building. So this is to get the top of the windows and the doors. And I know the top of the windows and the doors are at this point, right? So we are actually using the section as a guideline to get all the heights in the drawing. So I know that's the top of the top part of the doors and windows. I'm going to use that to trace a line. I forgot to add a line here, which is the one of the edges of the building. I'm going to rotate 45 degrees again to draw the other side of the building. And that's it. So you keep doing this until you get all the guidelines for each one of the components. In this case, to get the first floor, we need guidelines for the wall itself and for the windows. So we have this component here, which is the main facade. And we have this secondary, the guidelines for windows and for the door. We know the door we'll take all this space to get the height of the window, so it's the same as the door, but to get the other dimension, we will get that from the section, and let's suppose that is somewhere here, so we will translate that to each one of the components. I'm sorry, this is a door. Okay. And this will be a window. I'm just trying to show you the main elements of the facade, right? Okay, so let me turn off this layer. I will turn on the finalized layer of the guidelines. So here I'm seeing not only the windows, doors, and the facade of the building, but I also added the roof and the terrace, or the terrace of the entrance of the building, and an outline. I got some guidelines of this of the steps. So let me show you how to find the roof. So following our previous guideline, I'll use this corner to trace a 45 degrees line. This is the other side of the building. I know the building is 27 feet wide, so I'll find the middle of that, 27, so that means 13.5. 13.5 is somewhere here, so that's the middle, and I'm gonna trace a vertical line. So the tip of the roof is somewhere here on this line. I know the height of this part of the building. It's around 8.5 feet, and I know the distance from this point to the tip of the roof is around 7 feet, which is that point. Now I just need to connect these 2 points, and that is the line that I'm going to use to draw the roof. All right, let's turn on the layer of the guidelines, and let's take a look at this part here. How do we draw this? I'm going to turn it off, turn it on. This one again. So the line here of the first floor is actually the same, at the same level of the terrace. Okay, but we know that is lifted from the ground. How much is what's that dimension? So to get that dimension, we need to go to the section again. Here we can see that this is the level of the basement. This is the level of the first floor, and this line here is the ground level. So the height of the terrace is the difference between this point and this point. We can measure that, or we can just use the section to trace that line. That means We take the ruler, and this intersection here, it's the point that we need to trace. Sorry, that we need to use to trace the base of the building. And now the next step is to use this intersection to extend a line and figure out where the terrace meet the ground. You can use your 45 degrees angle for making these drawings. I'm gonna trace that. Okay, so we have the basic shape of the terrace, and to draw the basic shape of the stairs or the steps, we're gonna do the next. So this is the level, the level of the first floor. The steps are drawn on that level, so we need to translate that to the different levels of each one of the steps. So this is the point where the steps intersect the first floor level. The extension of this line will give us where this intersects the ground, and the extension of that line will tell us where the steps end. And then we just need to connect these two lines. So we know we have 10 steps. So to get the level of each one of those 10 steps, we need to divide this line on 10 different segments. We know that dimension because we measured that on the stairs. Once you divide that, what you need to do is extend these lines until you intersect that diagonal. And when you find that intersection, you draw a vertical line, and then you have the profile of the steps. Let's turn off that layer. So this was the basic shape with the guidelines, and this is the finalized version. This is the second part of the tutorial, and here I will show you how to finish your drawing. So we made the guidelines with a very thin line with drawing pencil, but here we're gonna use a thicker pencil to finish. So first, let's start with the roof. I'm gonna use my 45 degrees triangle, and I'm gonna start tracing on top of the guidelines. I'm gonna draw the thickness of the wall. I know the thickness is around 6 inches, so it is okay if the drawing is not that precise because it's a very small scale drawing. Okay, so far we have the roof, the wall, the windows, and the walls of the first floor, of the basement, sorry. So now I'm gonna start drawing the texture of each one of these materials. So I'll use a thinner pencil to draw the texture of the roof tiling. You can see that they are all parallels, but the distance between the lines are not always the same. I'm drawing by hand. I don't need to measure this because it's just the texture. The second texture we're gonna add is the siding of the wall. I know they are like 8 inches thick, more or less. Another texture that, or another detail that I can add here is the frame of the window. And the basement is made of CMU blocks, so I can also add some texture for that. We don't need to be precise with this. Adding texture to our drawings will keep the drawing a different quality. It will be more realistic on the one hand, but also it will look better. Always use a very thin lightweight pencil for drawing textures. Let's see how it looks. That's not bad. This is a basic idea. Let me show you the finished version. So this is the basic version. And this is the complete version. Here you can see that I drew the hand railings, the steps, and let me show you how to draw the hand railings of the steps. I'm gonna copy the properties. Okay. We use a thicker line weight to draw the outline of the hand railing. I'm not 100% satisfied with how it's looking, but I think for the scale of this drawing, it's good enough. Thank you. Okay, so to summarize, let's review what we did. The first step was to place the floor plan on the drawing and rotate it 45 degrees. The second step was to place the section intersecting the section with a point on the floor plan so we can use it as a reference. Since they are both on the same scale, we can combine them. The next step is to use both the floor plan and the section to draw the guidelines of the building. After we finish the guidelines, we can start working on the details. That means adding textures, adding construction details, hand railings, wall texture, siding, roof tiling, and so on.